I have been enriched by the previous speakers. So I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me a chance to listen, first of all, and this time to speak. Um, I divide my brief presentation, into where I'm coming from. So you get to know the basis of some of my reflections. And then the second and last portion would be my own initial reflection on the role of religious leaders in peace and development. I include peace and development because where I come from, there's so much conflict, and you cannot really go into development without really facing the issue of peace. Now, yeah, please, next. Now, where am I coming from? I'm coming from the things that I'm busy about. First is from AHEM anti-corruption movement. The Jesuits have this AHEM anti-corruption movement nationwide, and I'm the team leader for that. But it includes dialogue, giving seminars to government employees, but also to schools and even churches. I present here a slide on corruption and communion. It is the starting point of my presentation, a seminar for giving anti-corruption seminars to priests and church people. I take pain. I'm really, is it working? I really have this inner pain and heaviness of heart that the most Christian country in Asia is tagged as the most corrupt. And in the southern Philippines, where you have the dominant Muslim society, the institutions are not less corrupt. And so it's a heavy pain in on my side. And I think religious leaders have to face that. In Asia, according to Transparency International, I think the two most corrupt countries are Catholics and Muslim groups. And for me, it really pains me. And no matter how we want to develop the region, if we don't consider corruption seriously, religion and even interreligious dialogue will be trivialized. Next. And so in my going around, we call for creative self-critique. Just as we denounce corruption in government, even in civil society and in funding agencies, we also have to face corruption even among religious leaders. Donations to the church are to be considered public funds and are not to be pocketed. Now that is one area that I am working on. Next. Another thing is health. A few years ago, I started a cancer support group foundation. We have about 300 members, mostly women, with breast cancer, cervical cancer, and part of our work is to go to the poor, and it really pains me to see people lining up to get few paracetamol tablets and seeing government and sometimes even church or religious leaders living affluent lives. Now, I'm becoming more conscious of HIV/AIDS. For a few years ago, HIV/AIDS were not famous or notorious in the Philippines, but now there is a growing statistics that really are alarming. And I think apart from the basic medical services that are needed, we have to face pandemics and epidemics, because especially AIDS, people with AIDS acquire a stigma in society. Now, we are getting very conscious about this. Next. And so I would like to call attention to the growing partnership between government and civil society groups and religious leaders on how to face this epidemic. Next. Now, yeah, next. I'll just go through this very quickly. And third is my concern on peace. I was fortunate enough to have been recruited by the Bishops Ulama Conference on the work for consulting people. So right now there is an ongoing peace talks between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. We had an impasse last year that resulted to about 600,000 internally displaced persons, several deaths. And in response to that, the Bishops Ulama Conference thought of recruiting academics in consulting the people. And I was recruited to that very noble task. We conducted 311 community consultations of varying sectors. Next. So for every region, we consulted Muslims, Catholics, Protestants, and indigenous peoples, not just Muslims in general, Muslim women, Muslim youth, Muslim evacuees, etc. And the results of that consultation we synthesize in this small pamphlet. Next. Now, let me reflect on these things. Next. So from these experiences, what would be some roles for religious leaders that I can discern? One is as credible conveners. In the midst of corruption, even among those who help the poor, people have this built-in mistrust. Mistrust on authorities, legal and even religious leaders. In mistrust sometimes even of those who help the poor. Mistrust of those who give money and get money. Now, in the midst of this, there is a radiant hope that the religious leaders could be credible conveners, those who create spaces for sincere dialogue, where we can get sincere and careful, balanced information. And that is our experience with the Bishops Ulama Conference. We conducted 311, but in the beginning we were afraid that one of those 300 community consultations could be bombed. But thank God, we conducted 311 focus group discussions without getting hurt. This has been followed by Dialogue Mindanao, and we just finished 13 dialogues all over the Philippines, and we were fortunate that the most dramatic was just a walkout of one of the very active local government official. But really thank God that through the power of the witnessing of some religious leaders, there is this possibility that different sectors, pro-government, against the government, they could come in one place and talk with sincerity. I have within me the faces of some people who were in tears just because they were allowed to talk and to be listened to and to be informed. And I think that is one